Welcome back. You're watching Biz Check. We're live from Broadcasting House. It's almost 15 minutes past the hour of 11. And so we have about 45 minutes before we finish this show. We were talking about the status of engineering in this country. You have heard it from the voices of engineers in this country, the president as well as a council member of IEK. We now want to dive deep into the world of innovation in Kenya. You see, Kenya was the first country back in the year 2008 to launch an innovation master plan that was supposed to harness the power and the talent of innovation to drive economic growth and, of course, help in the realization of Vision 2030. And actually, when you go through the Vision 2030, it talks about building an economy that is centered around innovation. And that's why when you ask so many policymakers in this country, they always talk about the innovation giants of this world. We're talking about Singapore, we're talking about South Korea, we're talking about China. And that is where Kenya wants to be by the year 2030. We are talking about less than 6 years from now. And so what do we need to do to harness innovation, to drive innovation, to increase the uptake of innovation at the tender age? And that's why initiatives like the STEM project are very important in our conversation. And so this morning, we just want to have a conversation on how to nurture innovation in this country. And we are talking to engineer. Yes, that's right. It seems like we're going to have more engineers on the show this morning. Engineer Jane Motereri is the Managing Director of La Femme Engineering Services. She's joining us here so that she can help us drive this conversation around engineering. It's very nice to have you, Engineer Motereri.
Thank you very much.
Very good. And also we have an alumnus of the Young Scientists of Kenya. Her name is Cindy Felix. She is a third-year actuarial science student at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. So she's joining us here so that she can give us the perspective of young innovators and a young scientist. Cindy Felix, it's nice to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. Motereri, I just want to hear from you. What is the status of innovation in this country?
That's a good question, but I don't know whether I have the correct answer to that. Yesterday, during the opening ceremony of the National Research Fund, together with YSK, are having a conference at the Edge. And yesterday, during the opening ceremony, Mr. Kosgei, that is the
head of public service,
said that the problem that we have as innovators is because we don't showcase what we do. So there's so much innovation, but nobody really knows what it is or what you gain from that. And that is actually, I think, a big problem. So when you ask me where we are at the innovation, I could tell you that we are quite far, but I could also tell you that that far is probably with the scientists and with the innovators. It is not getting to the public as it should. And that is a problem that we're having. Yes.
When you say that we are far, how far are we?
Oh, Kenya actually we are pretty good. If you check the innovations, what we are showcasing there yesterday, I think we're actually very far. If that can be monetized, so that can be, if that can be monetized and commercialized, I think we can actually do a lot of things for ourselves. For example, if you check Dikut, the Dan Kimathi University, there were very many universities there yesterday, and I mean even now. If you check the universities, what the universities have done, oh, we are very far. We should be able to absolutely service our country as far as innovation is concerned.
You sound like you saw some jaw-dropping innovations, and you sound so gobsmacked by what you saw yesterday. I mean, what is this one innovation that you saw, that blew your mind literally?
Oh God, I could name a million. From Dikut, I mean, okay, there was Dikut, there was Meru University, there was Kisii University, so I just want to say, because you asked for one, they have this, I'm a water engineer, they have this device that they've come up with that on-site laboratory, not on site. It's actually a device this big, and what it does, you put water on this side, and then it has all the parameters that you check for iron, you check the chemical, and then you have an app on your phone. So once you put the water there, it will show you colors, and from those colors, then you check from your phone, and you see whether this water is ready to drink. Or, I mean, it's good to drink or it's not really good to drink. There's one for you, if you have your glass of water, there's one that is actually much bigger than that. You can have it for example, an institution. I thought that was absolutely big. I mean, what I've not seen that. And I know we take water and take it to the laboratory to get those things done. So that, and you see, it's with them, they say they've commercialized it. I have not heard of it. And that's what I'm saying. We have so many things that we've actually not taken out to the public to see. Yeah.
I'll be coming back to you with that innovation. I want to hear from Cindy Felix. You know, as a young scientist, what is your global view of the Kenyan science spectrum?
I can say, looking back to 5 or 6 years ago and right now, I think there have been some steady steps to sort of bring out innovation and, you know, the aspect of young scientists showcasing their projects in quite a significant way. What I can say is that I still think there is more need for more organizations and, you know, including the government, to invest more in creating platforms and conferences like the one we have at the Edge Convention Center for these students to actually showcase their exhibitions, because like engineer has said, if we have all these amazing innovations and there's nowhere they can be displayed, we'll still be quite far. But yeah, I would say we are doing pretty well. You know, we are having some amazing partners, even other countries like Ireland supporting our initiative. So I think the future is bright. Yeah.
And as a young scientist, you know, who is coming up, I know you are an alumnus of the Young Scientists of Kenya. Why do we still have a very small number of ladies, you know, joining the science industry?
I think the science stereotype still very much exists, that, you know, ladies are not as interested in STEM subjects and sciences as much as gents. But I think with more sensitization and information, we can actually get more ladies into STEM fields, because inclusivity is important, and the brains of young women have actually demonstrated that they can bring change. I still don't get to quite understand why women shy away from some of these industries, whether it's because they don't get the opportunities as much. I think maybe engineer can tell us whether they don't get the opportunities as much, or whether themselves they're not ready to jump into those fields. Yeah.
Moteridi, before I get into the question of that innovation that you were talking about, Cindy is talking about, you know, the gender stereotypes, you know, that we face as a country, and I just want to ask you this question, you know, with data in mind. When you look at data from the Ministry of Education, it will tell you that in our universities, you have 60% of students are male, 40% are women. The situation is worse when you go down to TVET, where 72%, actually 78% of students in TVET are male, 22% are female. And so how then do we close this gender gap, educational gender gap, or what do you call innovation gender gap, bearing in mind that the equilibrium is not fair, you know, at the educational level?
Thank you. The 60% at the university level, and we are not talking about the science, we are talking about the whole university. Yes. I think one of the things we need to probably understand is, if, for example, a girl gets pregnant in Form 4 or in high school, her chances of going on to the university, even if she was a good student, are actually not very high. It's much better than it used to be before, because sometimes nowadays parents actually do allow children, I mean mothers with children, to continue to go back to school, but that is still not all the time. We still have people who actually don't allow their children. Once you get a child, you're told to bring up your child. So that is the one cutoff. So of course, it's not the same for a boy. If he gets a child in school, that doesn't count at all. Then they'll continue their life. When we get to the TVET, 78% of the boys, TVET is it's more manual, and a lot of the TVET it's not just science based, but it's also manual. So you'll find that the ladies feel like they will not be able to do, for example, masonry work. They'll not be able to do timber work, which actually is not true. A lot of the work that I do, I have a lot of my fundis. They're actually women. I have enough of them. Painters, I mean, I do have a lot of women. So that stereotype, as she's saying, it's something that we need to decolonize our mind from that and know that everybody can do everything. And when push comes to shove, they do get there and they do the work. They carry those stones, they do all the work that they're supposed to do. Yeah.
You see, if you're just joining us, I mean, we're having this conversation around nurturing innovation and, of course, how to close the gender disparity, or what you call the gender dissonance in STEM courses. And that's a conversation that we're having here. We're in the company of an engineer as well as an actuarial scientist. And guess what? Both of them are female. And so they'll be speaking, or they are speaking from that perspective. Studio, we have about 15 minutes to go. And our conversation is around nurturing innovation here in Kenya. I gave you a background. You know, Kenya has been toying around with the idea of enhancing innovation since 2008. And when you go through Vision 2030, innovation, research, and engineering, you know, is part and parcel of this critical document that seeks to enhance Kenya's way of living. So let's talk about innovation. We are in the company of Engineer Jane Mutereri. She's the chairperson of Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. She's also the managing director of La Femme Engineering. Let me tell you, and also be in the company of Cindy Felix. She's a student at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, JKUAT. She's pursuing her course in actuarial science, and she's also a member of the Young Scientists of Kenya. So she's well versed with issues around innovation and science. I want to hear this, Cindy. I mean, when you look at the uptake of STEM courses, even, you know, in our learning institution, I mean, the ratio between boys and girls, I mean, it favors boys. You're looking at almost 75% for boys and 25% for girls. And so, when you're talking to your peers, I mean, how do you encourage them? How do you tell them that, look here, I mean, we need more women in this industry. It pays. It's the future.
I think it comes out better when they get, you know, this information and pieces of advice from women that are actually already in the industry. If you have someone ahead of you that has already, you know, gone forward and achieved in a certain field, you are definitely going to be motivated to also pursue the same. So it's more of, if we want to get, you know, a more balanced situation when it comes to STEM and innovation, we need, you know, the female innovators and engineers and let's just say the ladies that are already in STEM, for them to come out and actually mentor these young women. Yeah, for sure.
And when you see people like Engineer Jane Mutereri here, talking about what they are doing and the fact that she's the chairperson of ASEC, you know, which is the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. I mean, that is not a small position. And so, Jane, how are you people using the leverage that you have and the position that you have to ensure that you share this information with young female scientists, young innovators, so that they can be the Janes of tomorrow?
Thank you, Kimani. Before I became the chairperson of the Association of Consulting Engineers, I was actually the vice president well, just before then, I was a vice president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. I was a council member of the institution from 2012, 2013, I don't remember. But in 2014, we launched what we call the Women Engineers Chapter as part of the IEK committees. And what happened at that time, at that point, within the council, we were just 2 council members, and we are very down there, you know, just ordinary council members. From 2014, we started having that work committee, and in work we started encouraging women. Just, you don't even need to join the council, just come, let's just group together. And in that grouping, we actually did a lot of mentorship. We used to have events just for women, and I think a lot of young people actually got to know what that, you know, when you're few and far apart, you have only one role model, and then you are looking, you have one engineer woman you know, and then another 20 men you know. So when you're grouped together, then you actually realize that there are many more than you think, and therefore that is very encouraging. That is one. The second thing we realize is that as women now, you're an engineer, you join in as a young girl or just a graduate. When you start getting your family, then you have to kind of balance between your family, your career, and of course we know what gives way. So we've started trying to get ways now for them that you don't have to choose. That shouldn't be a choice. Just because you're a woman, you don't have to be any less of an engineer. And with that, we are encouraging the employers, give mothers who are engineers opportunities to not just be mothers, to not just to be engineers, but also to be mothers, so that we don't have to compromise between, let's say, that this or that. And that has actually worked quite well. And of course, us also being where we are, I think we are also quite a bit of encouragement to people, I hope. Yep.
You see, when you look at the SDG 9, I mean, it talks about fostering innovation. And Kenya, you know, the Kenyan government, you know, has been in the process of mainstreaming STEM courses, you know, even at the primary school level. Yes. And that's why there was a change in curriculum to competence-based curriculum, which is supposed to harness innovation at a tender age. Are you convinced that as a country we are on the right lane when it comes to harnessing the power of innovation?
I think we are, but I think there's still a lot that can be done. And that lot that can be done, I'm not even sure it's the government that should be doing it, but it's individuals, it's organizations like us. In ASEC, we have what we call future leaders. And in future leaders, one of their mandates, or one of the things that they do, is actually go to primary schools and secondary schools, and even universities. But they you know, it's what do I call it? They go calling to schools, and then when they go, you know, just the young people seeing young people like them, and this is where they are, and they tell them this is what you do. That in itself is actually very encouraging. And we realized, if I go to that school and start talking to young girls, they're just seeing their mother. When she goes to the school and talks to, for example, secondary schools, they actually identify a lot more with her. So we do that a lot with our future leaders, and it's been very helpful. Yep.
Cindy, one of the challenges that you know, as a country we are facing, and we must be alive to the fact that we are a developing country, and so, you know, the resource disparity is a major challenge in Kenya. And so our learning institutions are not well equipped with the updated technology to help nurture innovation and to help encourage more people to join the pipeline of innovation. Is it bad now that you're in school, and what do we need to do to upscale these?
As you have just said, the issue is resources. And it's not that the resources are not there, it's just that we are not making the proper investment to have our institutions, you know, have adequate, if it's laptops, if it's mentors and all of that for, you know, our young scientists to get the correct guidance and mentorship to innovation. So just like engineer said, it's not just something the government should be doing alone. Institutions, organizations, non-profit organizations like Young Scientists Kenya, we need to have these outreaches. We need to, you know, have everyone, especially from the primary level, have the knowledge and information that they can actually get the assistance they need to develop their projects into, you know, working models and actually monetize them and all that. So a lot of financial investment is, you know, needed, a lot of mentorship, a lot of guidance for the young scientists. That is where we actually need to focus more on.
For example, when you look at an institution like the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, I mean, let's touch on the technology aspect of it. It is one of the oldest institutions, you know, public institutions, you know, that has an arm dedicated to technology. Now, as a student there for the last 3 years, what is the state of technology learning at JKU at? Would you say it's the best? Are there challenges?
Well, of course, there are challenges. I would say, from my perspective, when it comes to pursuing technology and innovation, it has been more of self-initiative and then directing that self-initiative to, say, clubs in school and, you know, those kinds of programs for more joint effort towards technology. So universities are really at it for sure, because definitely they are more equipped, and yeah, I definitely applaud my university for having its game up when it comes to that. Yeah.
Jane, you know, apart from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, I mean, we have seen other institutions, you know, coming up. You have Dedan Kimathi, that is based on science and technology. You have Masinde Muliro, among others. You also have Murang'a University. So the institutions are there, but do we have the manpower and the required manpower to fit in that space?
You know, Kenya, we are what we call a growing economy, or an upcoming economy.
A developing economy.
A developing economy. But as far as personnel is concerned, I would actually think that we are at the next level. We are actually way above many other countries. If, for example, sorry if I keep on referring to DICUT, because I was with their VC yesterday, and I know what they are doing. We went there actually for the Engineers Board of Kenya. They had their convention there earlier this year. I think that was in May. And you can see the kind of innovations they are doing. They have, what do you call this? They are making even motherboards. What?
For computers.
For computers, yes. They are actually doing microchips for computers. And they are able to make them. That's what I'm saying. If you can monetize what it is they're doing, their software. What I understand is that when they are, every university uses a lot of money on software, and that software can be, it actually can be developed here. It can be developed here, and once it's developed here, then they're able to, you know, use it for their own use. I mean, for what it is that they need to do. And therefore, I don't think we have an issue with personnel. The young engineers we are bringing up, or the young scientists, the young people that we are bringing up, they really are up there in as far as technology is concerned. They just need that space. Yeah. And I have a lot of faith in them.
Cindy, from where you sit as an actuary of science, and you're entering into a field where, again, women are the minority, and you're looking at a ratio of 70 to 30, you know, against women, and so, what message do you plan to inculcate into the minds of young girls to join you, because it can be lonely at some point when you're just very few of you there?
What I can say is that we need to tell these young girls that they can actually make it. Most of them probably look down on themselves based on where they come from, based on their challenges. Engineer actually gave an example of when, you know, in the unfortunate event that a girl gets pregnant, she decides to drop out of school and doesn't pursue further education. So the message I would have for them is that at whatever stage and point you are in your life, when you set your mind to do something, you can actually do it. And yes, there is an urgency and a dire need for more women to step up into these positions, because I believe women have a nurturing personality in them. They're more mindful. I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way for our male counterparts, but they are more mindful of leadership positions and can actually deliver as much, if not more. So if they put their minds to what they actually want and pursue these STEM courses, you know, bring up these innovations and not shy away from the spaces that require technology and science, it can actually be done.
It can be done.
It can be done.
Jane, I want you to look at the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Where do you see this industry? Where do you see innovation in the next 5, 10 years? And what do we need to do to harness and upscale innovation in this country?
First of all, I still want to echo the words of Mr. Kosgei yesterday. Innovation is not enough in itself. That information has to be disseminated. So once you do innovation, you need to give out, you need to let people know what it is you're innovating. And on that note, I first of all commend completely the National Research Fund and of course young scientists because of the conference they're having as you're right now. Next week, if you allow me to pitch mine, we are having a conference at the same place, The Edge. And our conference is engineering and engineered material and equipment. When I say engineering, engineering is what we all know. Engineered is what you have taken and actually now umeifanya ukarabati, you know, so that it actually serves a different purpose from what is being served. And that is what we call innovation. Next week, from Tuesday to Friday, we are having what we are calling our conference. It's actually our third ASEC conference. And in that conference, first of all, we do a lot of research, and who disseminates that research? Who gives it to us? And that is one thing that in the next 5 years, all the research that has been done, we need a forum that we can tell people what. One of the things we are going to discuss is climate resilience infrastructure. AFDB has done a research on that, and they need to come and tell us what has the climate done to the infrastructure we've done. And once we know that, then we know what not to do. That's one. We have research on concrete, we have research in steel, we have research on roofing material, equipment. So that, if we continue our research and doing that, giving that information to the public, and then the public will pick up that information, we'll still do things better than we've been doing them. So for me, I would in the next 5 years, for as long as this continues, I think we'll be in good places. We'll be in a good place, and we'll be able. Kenya should sustain itself. Really, I think we have some of the most brilliant minds, and on that note, we should be able to innovate things for ourselves, use them for the betterment of man. Yeah.
And now that you have been attending the Research Week at the Edge Convention, what are some of the conversations coming out of that a conference that you feel are going to be key enablers of innovation in this country?
Number one, we should trust our innovations.
Trust our innovations. Is there a feeling that we don't?
Yes, there is a feeling that we don't. Let me tell you, I'll actually just name 3 of the innovations that I saw yesterday. Bamboo. Bamboo that grows, it takes 5 years to grow, but can be used on very many things. We still don't use, and I'm now talking as an engineer, we still haven't actually gotten into use bamboo as we should. That's one. We have soldier flies.
That is bamboo tree.
Bamboo tree. We have soldier flies. Soldier flies for food. I didn't know it can actually be made for human feed, but it is the food that the protein for animals is actually one of the most expensive. You know, so production of our food is actually very expensive on account of our, animal product is very expensive on account of the protein. It can be made in everybody's house using soldier flies. They are showing it. I saw 3 universities that have that as an, it's not even, well, as an innovation that can actually be, you know, taken, escalated. The other one was leather technology from Kimathi. When we get a cow, we just eat the meat. There's so much that can be done with that. In fact, from them, they are saying a lot more value addition to that, to a cow. You know, for example, the leather of the cow is actually a lot more than the meat that we eat. When we see a cow, we just eat the meat and throw away the hide. The hide. Skins. Yes, we have, from Meru University, I saw dryers for cereals, for bananas, for, you know, there's so much that can be done. So if this is one of the losses that we have, one of our problem with food production is actually after sales losses.
After harvest losses.
After harvest losses, yes. So those after harvest losses, the universities have come up with an innovation that you can actually preserve your food on your within your farm, and then you can sell it. And you know, those are the small innovations. If we did those ones, and because they can make a household drier. So once you get food from your shamba, you dry it, you keep it and sell it at the right place. We should be able to sustain ourselves. So those are some of the things that really hit me on those.
I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of soldier flies, and this has been a conversation that has been ongoing on how Kenya can tap soldier flies, for protein,
yes,
for nutritional value. But the question has always been, I don't know. I'm sure you saw them soldier flies. I don't know whether you would want to have them for supper, in their current state. I mean, and so there has been cause for value addition. And that is what has been missing. You're talking about dryers, but we have dryers in the market. But then, how do you value add, the Kenyan produced or Kenyan manufactured dryers to suit the local demand, to suit the local needs?
The dryers that I was seeing yesterday are actually solar dryers. You see, there are dryers all over the place. But those dryers, what is the energy serving those dryers? Driving those dryers. So if you have a dryer, for example, this size, and you have even 30 bags of maize, it will take a while for you to dry them here. But you see, it's in your place. There's no hurry. You'll dry it as it comes. Soldier flies, that's a very good question, because until yesterday I didn't know actually they can be used for personal nutrition values. All I know about soldier flies, it can be used as animal feed. But they're saying for the word the doctor who was on them told me, for those who can manage. So I'll leave it that day. But soldier flies, other than for the nutrition value, we're also talking about a lot of solid waste. They actually decompose the waste for you. So they are saying the soldier flies, depending on what you feed it, that's when they can become edible. But also you can use just decompose of solid waste, and then you feed them to the cows. So it's not, you're not picking the wiggly worm. It's actually there's a lot of value addition to that, which can be done actually in the house. In the house, yes, they can be done at home.
Somebody said that soldier. Kenyans, one of their delicacies is omena, and so if we are very good at consuming omena.
Kumbi, what are those things that fly out during the rainy season?
I don't know their name, but I also know they are delicacy in the western part of this country, and so it's just a question of value addition. And Cindy, I also know that you have been attending the research conference at the Edge Convention. What are some of the innovations that you have seen there that have got your mind blown away?
I think I wouldn't point out to specific innovations, but what I am mostly, captivated by is the fact that our young scientists are actually trying to address global issues, the SDG goals, trying to curb flooding. I saw one talking about, the way they would want to channel flooding water into some sort of preservation and purification underground, so that when it floods, we don't have so much of rainwater on the surface, and at the same time the way we are choosing to preserve that flood water is underground, so the land that is on the surface is still utilized as it should, you see. So they're actually trying to address the issues that are going on right now, climate change and all of that, and that's what we actually need. So I wouldn't say that this particular project is what blew my mind. I am more inclining to, they are actually observant and they're informed and they know what they want to do and they know how they want to do it. So they're coming up with those innovations to address those issues. Some of them are actually motivated by issues from their local communities, and they are willing to give back to those communities. And yeah, that truly is amazing. And
I mean, as a young scientist, as a young innovator, I mean, you live in a country that is, beset by many challenges, and you're talking about extreme poverty, lack of proper sanitation, lack of a proper and well-aligned transport system, to climate change, and of course air pollution, and so much. And Are there some innovation that you wish, that Kenya can develop to deal with its domestic challenges?
Well, sure, definitely. I think our greatest issues as a country, apart from corruption, is, extreme poverty, hunger, sanitation. So I'm definitely looking forward to see more projects that actually address the very core issues, because once you address those very core issues, you've actually dealt with the entire country. Yeah.
Motereri, I mean, you became an engineer at a time when, engineering was a preserve of men. I mean, you're one of the pioneers of women engineers in Kenya. And it's probably to say that, significant gains have been made to ensure that you mainstream more women in the engineering industry. But we still have a long way to go. And how can those challenges be addressed?
Yes. In my class, first of all, we were 8 out of, I think, 132. In a class of 132, we were 8 ladies, because we were the double intake. Then everybody thought we were too many women in engineering, because the year before us, I think there were 2 or 3. The year before us, there was 1. I mean, everybody could tell us, before you there was so and so, so and so, so and so,
You could even pick them up from the crowd.
Yes. But we were told we were too. At that point, we were actually too many. There are too many.
At 8.
Yes, at
8 of you.
So I totally agree. We've made quite some ingredients on that, and that's a good thing. We are, of course, not enough. And I think becoming an engineer and remaining an engineer, that is also the other conversation we are having. And I said, by the time they get middle-aged, they start getting babies and everything else, then the challenge becomes too much. So it's one thing to become an engineer. It's a different thing to remain there. And that's one of the conversations now that we should actually start having. And we are already having that conversation. As I said, we have what we call WEC, Women Engineers Chapter, through our Institution of Engineers of Kenya. And they're doing a good job. They're actually doing a good job. Just encouraging one another. And even when we've bid to become the president of the institution, we haven't. I think we've had the 4th one now, bidding to become the president. The 4 of us have not made it. I was a candidate once, and we encourage each other. I mean, it would be very nice when one of us becomes one. But more important, we have so many people, like in the council now. I think the last but one council, we're almost 50% women. So that in itself is actually
gender parity was almost achieved.
Maybe it was 40%. But having said that, down below us, we are still absolutely not enough. So we still have a lot of work to do.
When you look at the challenges, that you are going through back then, and you look at the same challenges that women are going through in their bid to become engineers, are they related?
Yeah, the challenge is still the same. The only difference is that now if she gets a problem, she has me to talk to. But the problems are definitely the same.
Back then, you didn't have anybody to talk to?
Not as many.
Not as many.
Yes, I mean, I think probably when I think the older engineers, especially in civil, who are older than me, they are certainly not many. And I probably didn't even know. Probably I knew 1 or 2. They were certainly not many.
Cindy, as a young scientist, as a young innovator coming up, are there some women in Kenya that you look up to and say, that's where I want to be. That's where I want to be at 10 years from now?
I have been waiting for that question.
It's here finally.
Yeah. Apart from taking actuarial science, I am very much interested and very passionate about aviation.
Aviation.
And I hope to fly one day as a captain. I look up to Captain Irene Koki Mutungi.
Yeah.
Oh, you know her? Okay, that's amazing. She has been a pilot since she was 19 years, and I have watched her grow into a really amazing journey, and I would definitely hope to, follow in her footsteps. Aviation is actually also one of the industries in Kenya, actually globally, that women are really not, they're still, the gender balance is still not quite there. So that's something I'm looking forward to contributing into. I also have another mentor. She's a captain as well. I have so many, but Captain Irene Koki definitely stands out. Yes.
I mean, she's always been, been very proud, flying the big birds, the 747.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, and what about in the innovation space? Do you have, a woman that you look up to and say, that's my role model up there?
Currently in the innovation space, I wouldn't say there's someone I exactly look up to. If we, look at most of the innovations that came up, from light bulbs to all that, most of them were invented by men. It's only recently that women have started taking up these spaces. But when I find one, I'll definitely let you know.
Well, I mean, ladies, we must bring this conversation to an end. But not before I find out this from Cindy. What do we need to do to get more young people in this space and support them and support their innovation towards commercialization level?
Like I said, we can have a million conversations around, where we want to see innovation in the next few years, but if it's all talk and no show, we are not going to achieve anything. Innovation actually, requires financial investments. It requires mentorship. Being a Young Scientist Kenya alumni, I can confirm that it requires financial investment, it requires mentorship, and these are things that we need to come out and, give to the young people, even from the primary level. The government, institutions, anyone that is interested in seeing Kenya and the world take the next step should show interest in supporting these young people. Let's have as many outreaches as we can. Let's have as many exhibition shows as we can. Let's have as many conversations as we can. And let's also have, people who've already done it in the innovation space, whether in Kenya or globally, get to talk to these young people and show them that they can make it. They need to see the footsteps they're actually following into. Yes. And
reverting back to the issue of Koki Mutungi, I mean, she's a trailblazer. I mean, she's like nobody else in the field. I mean, there was a lot of excitement when she became the first female captain to fly the Boeing Dreamliner, 787. I mean, that's a huge bird. I mean,
Africa.
You get in it and you get lost.
Yes.
Have you ever met her?
No.
Not yet.
I haven't.
I hope you
The
managed.
answer is not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's a
answer is
great
not
answer.
yet, yes.
That's a great answer.
Koki
Not
Moli,
yet.
Koki Mutungi, if you're just watching this show, just know that Cindy Felix
Hi.
is a big admiration of you, and she just want to meet you so that you can have a one-on-one conversation and inspire her. Maybe she can join your field.
You never know.
And we applaud you, Koki, for being the first female, African female, to fly the Boeing Dreamliner 787. Ladies, I mean, we must come to the end of this conversation, but not before I allow you to say what you want to say.
Thank you very much. I just want to invite everybody to our conference. We are going to have a great conference next week. On the first day, that's the 27th, we are having future leaders, our young engineers. Our young engineers they're just amazing. And when I say they're amazing is that they are so self-driven, they do a lot of things on their own. So please join them on the 27th, that's the first day. And for the rest of us, from 28th to 30th, we're going to have a mind-boggling conference. It's a conference you'll not forget. At the Edge, you're all very welcome. Check our website, ASEC, www.asec. Check our website, na karibuni sana. And for the sponsors, if you have anything that you want to show, any innovation that you've done, you're very welcome.
Very good.
Thank you.
Cindy, do you want to say something before we call it a show?
I think my parting shot, which I took from her conversation is, and I liked when she mentioned it, is I hope we get to a point where women don't have to compromise. It's either your career or motherhood. You only have to pick one. We really need to get to that point, and I hope, we get to have those conversations, because no one questions when a guy is a dad and he's a CEO of a company, but when you're a mother and an engineer, everyone wants to know, how did you do it? So I hope we get to that point where we actually look at women as people, not just as women and mothers, as people as well with dreams and ambitions, and who can actually, pursue their careers and also being mothers.
And the fact that the two of you are here is a testament that there are no ceilings for women to fly.
She's not yet past the testing stage. She's not yet, but I have passed that stage.
Yes.
She hasn't.
She hasn't.
She hasn't. So at that age where she has to make that decision is where we need to support them, absolutely.
And I hope women like you will come out strongly.
Absolutely.
And
For
give them
sure.
the support that they need.
Yeah.
And even the men who have made it, we also need to support our girls. We need to support our women. Because as I say, it's lonely up there.
Yeah.
It's very lonely when you're up there alone. So we need everybody on board. Well, it's coming to 12:20. We have to wind up this conversation. We've been talking about innovation, and we've been in the company of two great women, Cindy Felix, an actuarial scientist, as well as engineer Jane Mutulili. She's the managing director at La Femme Engineering Services, and also the chairperson of Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya. And before that, we also had a very interesting conversation on how to drive the engineering fraternity in this country, and how do we mainstream engineering in this country so that we ensure engineering becomes a key driver of socio-economic development. Man, oh man, I've been here for the last 2.5 hours. So I need to take a short break. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We do this every Thursday right here on KBC Channel 1, live from our national headquarters here at Broadcasting House in Nairobi. O'Brien Kimani is my name. Thank you very much indeed. What's coming up next? Khalid Abdullahi is coming up with Kurunzi Mashinani. That is our Swahili Bulletin. Stay right here. Bye for now.